Hello and welcome to Brimwood Farm. I just got home from work, so I thought I'm going to pop into the garden and do some watering, and I'll give you a little tour of just some bits and pieces going on here. There's not a full tour because that video would be immensely long, so I'm just going to pick out a few little bits that have been going on here in the urban farm. The first is the pheasant chicks. They're just down here, so they're Reeves pheasants, and you might remember a video a few weeks ago which was entitled These Chicks Are Crazy, and I'll link that above. You can see they have grown a lot. Now they are not like chicken chicks. Game bird chicks are very crazy. The closer I get, you will see they will start to sort of fly away and freak out because they're not that tame. Now she laid about 7 in all. 2 or 3 were cracked, and then we did have a 4th chick, but that 4th chick had really bad legs, so we ended up having to splint it, and it didn't work. It ended up that the splay of the leg wasn't the ankle, it was actually right up in the hip. It was never going to get better, and as the chick grew, it just got worse and worse and worse, so we put that to sleep. So we've got these 3 guys left. I've no idea of sexes. You can't really sex them until the first feathers come through. We'll be keeping any hens because we have our spare boy Elijah that we'll put the hens with, and any boys will then go for sale. But they're doing really, really well, and I'm really pleased. And actually, while we're in here, I'm just going to show you my bargain plants. So these are Fatsia japonica, and they are some of my cheapies. So this was 99p, and you can see how much that's grown. It's done really, really well. So they're also known as castor oil plant. And then these were clearance. So these were just unlooked after, and they were originally £6. They were down to £2. And if you remember, I literally had to cut the entire base plant. You can see, actually, if I go in here, you can see this is where the plant used to be, right down here. Put my finger behind so you can see. Right down here. Cut it off, and then this has all come up. So they're going to be going into the sort of the tropical garden at the farm. So we've got 4 of those, and they've all done it really, really well. Really pleased at how well they've done. And if we head outside, a couple of things. The first is these little violas. Aren't they amazing? Look at that flower, so dark. Very, very nice. But then also this is a very cheery little, I can't remember the varieties right off the top of my head, but this is a very cheery little viola as well. My aim is to fill these pots so that they're kind of cascading with viola. I had to bring them right down here because I had a pesky blackbird coming into the garden. I thought a chicken was getting out constantly, but it was actually a blackbird was coming along, and every single day for about 5 days, and several times a day, pulled them all out. So I had to pull them into the conservatory and look after them until they started to root properly, and then put them back outside away from that blackbird. The other thing I wanted to show you down this end of the garden was my goji berry. I've never kept goji berry before. I got one for my birthday. Now we have got a bit of mildew on it, and that's because it's a little bit stressed. I probably need to water it a little bit more, and actually its pot's down here, it needs a bigger pot. I also need to give it a tomato feed, but the mildew's not causing it any great problems at the moment, and certainly the growing tips are a lot better. You can see here, this growing tip's a lot better. But the most exciting thing is, look, flowers. So I've never kept goji berries before, and I didn't know whether they were going to flower in a cluster at the end, like a blackberry, but no, they flower all the way along, and apparently they also not only flower on new growth but also old growth. So if you do prune them, you're going to lose some fruit. We've had 1 flower already. It's actually gone over, but if you check out my Instagram, I did put a picture of the goji flower, the goji berry flower on there, and they're all, you can see they're all along the stem. So I'm excited to see how these turn out. I don't think I've even eaten a goji berry in my life. They are obviously one of these new celeb superfoods, but I don't care. they just look cool to me. Apparently they're really weather tolerant, and once they're actually established, they can survive some pretty harsh winters. But I've got that in a pot anyway, obviously to take with us when we move. But you could have it in a pot and move it inside if you're worried. Now for the kind of the flower garden, but I'm going to back up a little bit. This is rabbit corner down here, and then this is kind of the flowery bit. I'm not super happy with it, I must admit, but it's just there's not a lot of colour. There's lots of purple, which is nice. The dahlias are really late this year, but they're starting to come out, which will be nice. And we've got a little, why do I always forget the names of stuff? An echinacea. There's an echinacea flower here. And I guess when you look at it from certain angles, it's quite pretty, but there's lots of gaps. Which I really need to fill in. This is the rose campion, which is really coming out, but a lot of the plants are behind. So we've got these two plants here, which have come out. But then if we carry on, oh, I just got caught up on a twig. Hang on a moment. You can see that these plants here are nowhere near flowering, and that's because we're in partial shade, so I'm expecting that these have got more sun than those. You can also see great swathes of soil. So I'm not particularly happy with this bed. It's a work in progress, as is this bed down here. So this bed is under this tree. It gets really dry and it gets really shaded, so it's not the greatest place in the world. We've got these hostas. These hostas actually look quite pretty. They flower quite well. They're in pots as well, so they're just got a little piece of plastic pot down here just so they hold some more moisture. Again, it's a big work in progress, lots of soil. The honeysuckle did not like the drought, and you can see it's really died off. It's started to come back through again. I've had to do more watering on it. We've got the single rose, which is quite pretty. But yeah, again, time is something that I haven't had a vast amount of, and so it shows in this bed. Now on to the veg patch, which you would think midsummer teeming with life, tons and tons of vegetables. I'm going to swing around and show you my big failure. This is the vegetable patch. There is hardly anything in it. We've had all those foods early on, so we've had all the spinach and some of the early lettuces and things, and the early radishes, and now we really don't have a lot left. With carrots, the carrots are doing well. My radishes have been horrendous this year. I just haven't seemed to grow any very well. I've just recomposted this bed. I've got some down there, but they're not great. They're not bulbing up at all. So that's kind of been a bit of a disappointment. This, on the other hand, so this is an armbark pumpkin which was sent from one of my patrons all the way from Australia. This is romping away. Whether it's going to set through, I don't know. It started to have some flowers, as you can see. There's some flowers in there. So I'm just hoping that it's going to set and we're going to actually have some armbark pumpkins from it, because that would be amazing. We've had some good cabbages. We're down to just the final few now. Probably what's left isn't great. We've got a nice cabbage in here, but you can see that's not really worth eating. That's going to go to chickens, and that's going to go to chickens as well, because again, not worth eating. And then again, this bed, the turnips, I've had a few turnips out, but most of them, once again, have just been like this. Horrendous. I don't think it's shade, and I don't think it's moisture. I think it's a fertility issue. I've planted, just sown some more. I've recomposted the bed in this patch. Sown some more. I'm going to see how it goes. I've got beets in here. They're doing all right. And then the chickens got into this end and completely mutilated my herbs. So I had to sow some more. So I've got little dill plants, and we've got some little coriander plants, and then we've got some random things that came up because it was mutated so much. Some of the seeds must have just got mixed in with the soil, and I really didn't know what was what. So again, a bit annoying, quite disappointing, but we're going to try and get some crop out of this. So I'm not madly disappointed. Now, the good thing about gardening is that if you take your eye off the ball and things go a bit awry, or you have bad weather, or a combination of it all, you can just sow more stuff at any time of year. So I have tried to get on top of it, and I've started to sow new lettuces. I've got some new lettuces coming up in here, so they'll be soon ready to prick out and pop out into the beds. It's also the perfect time of year. You can still get beets in, you can still put more herbs and more radishes and things in, and then actually now it's August, we can think about spinach and chard and winter crops. So I've just sown some kale as well. So a dismal midsummer. We haven't got any tomatoes even yet. The cucumbers didn't survive. The chickens have got out. We've had dead stuff, but I'm going to carry on going, get stuff into the garden. We've got those goji berries at the front. So actually there's good things to be thinking about. I shall finish off in the greenhouse where the tomatoes are doing all right. I wouldn't say they're outstanding by any means. They haven't got a lot of flower, but they are doing all right. There are flowers. There's some a little bit lower down as well, so hopefully these might actually start making some tomatoes. And the good thing that I've just seen is we have things growing. So this is the kale I was talking about. I only put this in at the weekend, so it might have even been Monday actually. I think it was Monday. So these are actually only been in 4 or 5 days now, and you can see my 2 types of kale are coming up. So I've got germination here and I've got germination here. It's also not too late to do some French beans. You really got to get them in the first week of August, mind you, but you can still do them. And look, we have germinating beans. So as long as we don't have an early frost, as long as we have good weather, we will get some beans out, some French beans out of these. So again, not a dead loss. The other really important thing that I need to think about is that this year is probably my final growing season here. So I'm not too concerned that it's all been a bit of a mess and I haven't had time, because I know that next year I will have time. I will hopefully have a polytunnel. One of the first things I'm going to sort out when we move to the farm are the veg beds and getting pipe work into them, so drip systems, so don't have to worry about that sort of thing. And also, again, this garden is heavily shaded. We only really have one really sunny patch, and that's the bit right up the front, which I showed you at the beginning of the video, where you've got all the blue, the bluey purple verbenas and a couple of dahlias. That's really the only sunny patch we have. The rest of it is very shaded. So again, when we're at the farm, I have got my pick of 45 acres. If I can't find a sunny patch there, I don't know where I will be able to find a patch. So that's a little whistle-stop tour with a few things that are going on here. Highs and lows. You know, the veg garden is a low, but we do have peppers coming. We do have tomatoes. There's going to be some goji berries. I hope that this is the first year we've got actual plums and apples coming on. So there is good stuff as well. The pheasants are doing great. The rabbits are doing great. So let's pick out the positives. If you have liked the video and enjoyed the little trip around the garden on this Saturday evening, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Come over to Facebook. Join us at Brimwood Farm's community group if you like, where we talk all stuff rabbits, chickens, vegetables. But for now, I'm going to say have a very good evening, and I will see you again soon. Bye bye.